Hello, everyone. Welcome to a birthday edition of the BDE Sports Talk podcast. Here to give you the latest scoop in the world of sports in the great state of Michigan and the great city of Detroit. The Tigers update will be stock full of deadline moves and what it means going forward for the franchise. And is Scott Harris in over his head? We start our second year of the State of Michigan college football preview, where we will get a little season preview of each FBS school in the state and what our record predictions for those schools will be. Now, mind you, I did notes for this episode. I did not give my prediction. So I'm going to be looking that up. This week, we will start on the banks of the Red Cedar, and Lions training camp has begun. The pads are on, things are getting chippy, and we answered the question, are we ready for football? Yes. Hey, I'm Bill, one of three co-hosts, along with the D&E of the BDE, Dazzling Dean, and birthday boy Eddie.
Oh, me?
Yes, you. How's your birthday going?
It's good. Yeah,
it's a day.
Well, you look good for 52.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. You're celebrating. I'm 55 actually today, so I appreciate that. That's super nice.
You look not a day over 52.
Oh. Spry.
You look spry with a couple bad knees.
Oh yeah, I got more than a couple bad knees. I'll tell you that right now.
Dean, doing good?
Yeah, doing good. Still doing good.
Well, fellas, let's get into it. The pads are being worn. Teammates are fighting. That only spells one thing. Football is back, baby. Are you guys ready for football, or doesn't it not feel like we're even close to football yet?
Honestly, we're right there now. I feel right. It's a month and a half away. We're going to start getting into preseason stuff. Training camps are coming up. Obviously we'll be keeping up on that and reading all that stuff. And it's exciting. You know what I mean? Every time, once it starts hitting August, I start getting the itch, and then that last week, right before the first week, it's always the longest week waiting for a game, especially for this year for the Lions too, because that'll be a sweet game to see. But yeah, no, I'm excited.
I'm pretty sure that itch is that crazy weekend you have every last week of July.
It's that ranch. check out Wake Up.
Nice. Oh, for sure. Obviously, definitely excited. It doesn't feel. It never feels too soon. I don't know. It just, we're at the end of July. The Lions got a preseason game in 8 days, August 8th. So I'm excited for that. Looking to see some of the guys have been talking about, like Dorius Fountain, who I guess has been doing really well in camp, a receiver. I want to see the golden leg of Jake Bates boot a 60-yarder, in a Lions uniform. Want to see the rookies, obviously, and I want to see if Jack Campbell takes another step. Dude, I'm pumped to just even get a taste of that preseason action. August 8th.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it. It's crazy to me that tomorrow's August. Summer always flies by way too quick. I am excited for football, of course, but with that said, Lions open training camp. First video I saw said Jake Bates absolutely destroying a football from at least 52 yards. It looked like it probably could have been good from 65, 70. It was high up.
Monster.
Yeah, he's got a fucking leg. Yeah, he does.
Bates over Badgley, even if Badgley hadn't gotten hurt?
It's hard to say.
It's hard. Yeah, like Eddie said, it's hard to say. I heard he kind of struggled in closer though, within 30 yards. He was struggling a little bit, which is the extra point. So that worries me a little. But you never. I don't think the thing is he has this monster leg, but how often are the Lions going to be kicking 60-yard field goals too? It's nice to have in your back pocket, to have a guy that can do that, but they're always going for it on fourth down. And I don't think it's because it was lack of confidence in Badgley. I just think that it was the full confidence in the offense to get the first down. So it's like, I'm sure there was a little bit of lack of confidence in Badgley and Patterson throughout the season, but I mean, how often are they really going to be kicking these 60-yard? I mean, hopefully never is the hope, right? They're never kicking 60-yard field goals. But
if we're at the 43 and it's 4th and 5, with Badgley on the team, they're probably going for it. With Bates, maybe see if we get 3 out of this bad boy. It's hard to say, man. I don't think it's going to change, as we've talked about before. I don't think it's going to change the thought process of Dan Campbell and how they call plays and when they go for it or not. But I do think if he is solid through the season, that there might be a situation, especially like in the playoffs, where you're kind of in that iffy zone and it's more than 3 yards to a first down. That's not a gamble, to kick a field goal at that point, that's
from 60 though. I mean, that's a gamble.
You've seen him do it. If he's been solid through the season, like if we're at Lambeau and Soldier and he's hitting 50-yard bombs, no issue, everybody's loud and whatever, then it's like, yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the real test, isn't it? I mean, it's not the UFL.
It's true.
And you're not playing every game at Ford Field.
Right. It's going to help. They only have 3 outdoor games this year. So.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, that'll help them out.
JG.
Yeah, it helps freaking golf for sure.
Keep that man inside. He's getting a lot of money.
Speaking of money, Taylor Decker, he signed a 3-year extension, which puts him with the team through 2027 at 3 years, $60 million, 32 guaranteed. We had talked about the possibility of him getting re-signed a few weeks ago. Feeling pretty good. He's there for another 3.
Yeah, I don't think you know what you have in Decker, and there's nobody you can really replace him right now that isn't taking a chance on if they're going to perform like rookie wise or free agent wise. If you're going to take a flyer on somebody, I've seen some good things about Holmes saying his leadership and his professionalism throughout the whole thing. I mean, he's been here since the Patricia days, and he knows what it's like, and he's still accepted them like with the culture and everything like that. And I mean, that's huge. You need guys like that have that veteran experience. And I mean, not to mention, I mean, he's a pretty good left tackle. So I mean, I'm happy to see him stay. It is a little bit of a surprise for me. I honestly thought they might try to move on from him just cap wise and everything like that. But I mean, if you're going to pay the guy, it's good to pay him early. I mean, we've seen it recently. I mean, I saw this in an article that it pays to pay early. I mean, you look at, Jordan Love getting that huge extension and all these other guys at wide receiver, you know what I mean? Like, you pay these guys early, you don't have to pay them more, in a couple of years or a year or even a month, So yeah, I'm happy to see him stay. I mean, he's a great player. I mean, he solidifies the offensive line at the bookends at least. So yeah, I'm happy to see him stay.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, you got to love it. He obviously earned it. According to ESPN, he had his highest win block rate last season. And he says he still feels like he's in his prime. I think he's a 31 or 32. I actually heard him talking on the radio this morning. And, I believe him when he says he wants to be here. He loves the city, obviously loves the team and the direction they're heading. When he was unsure of his contract status, he actually he went to Dan Campbell directly, is what he was saying. And kind of got it hashed out, not the contract, but just the comfortability that something was going to get done and that they were all thinking the same way. You got to love that him, Ragnow, Sewell are locked up for the next couple of years. I mean, even Glasgow is locked up for the next couple of years. Zeitler's the only starting guy who's not on contract past this year. And we'll see. You got guys that have been drafted, Mahogany and Sorsdahl, those guys. Yeah, Manu. Yeah, for sure. I mean, so who knows what happens there? But as far as Decker goes, he's a guy. I think he's one of those. His name is going to be brought up when we're talking about the Lions. This Lions run of football 20 years from now. So I'm glad to see him re-signed. I'm glad they're able to keep that core alignment together. So I mean, he's earned it, man. I mean, he's in his ninth season. He's seen it all. And listening to him on the radio, I really believed the conviction that he really wanted to be here. That minimum to finish his career. I don't think he feels like in 3 years his career's over, but he wants to be here for the duration of that.
Right.
Well, I was just gonna say. I mean, he's still playing good football.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
that's his highest win block rate.
I don't see a problem with it at all. And I mean, that's been the general consensus. It's not like a very 50-50 thing. I think everyone's pretty happy with him coming back. And I do think you're right. I think he truly loves being in Detroit for that team. I mean, when they won the division, he cried. So, it means something to him, especially,
Sure.
So
we love you back, man.
We love you, man.
Bill, tell Taylor Deck you love him, just real quick.
As a Lions fan.
Oh, you got to classify it. I thought it was unconditional.
I can tell you right now, I can say that I love him, but he would not say, "Well, I love Bill Sleeper."
Well, yeah. No, he doesn't know who we are.
He would say, as a BD Sports Talk fan.
If you listen to this section of our show, he would probably be like, "Oh, those are good guys."
Yeah. No kidding. Get well soon, John Kaminsky. Torn MCL puts him out more than likely until the playoffs if the Lions get there. Which kind of leads me into Levi Onwuzurike. I saw the media was talking to Dan Campbell, and he called Levi one of the best. He said it's just clear, stating he plays with violence. He's fundamentally better than he's ever been. Can you imagine if he's as good as Campbell is advertising? How good that front four is going to be? Like, you know what I mean? You got DJ, Aleem, Davenport, Hutch. I also saw, I mean, obviously just a rumor, but I think it was, I'd have to look at it.
Judon.
Matthew
Judon.
Yeah.
I mean, Broderick Martin's been looking good too, apparently.
Yeah. I was going to say, opens up roles for those younger guys to come in and play, I'd also seen something along the lines of them talking about giving McNeil an extension as well. Through Holmes saying, it's about time. Like that was the headline that I saw. Which was also somewhat of a surprise to me, just due to injury past. And so, I mean, he's a great D tackle when he's healthy.
Well, like you were saying, sign early.
Sign him early.
Before we get, like, if he has another monster season and halfway through the year, then you're trying to get it done. He's probably gonna be like, I'm gonna wait till the end of the season.
Yeah. Hit that monster payday, especially
and
he ends up with like 10 sacks and whatever. But yeah, no, that's unfortunate for Kaminsky. But I mean, like Eddie said, Broderick Martin's been looking pretty good, so we'll see what happens. Plus Levi, I heard that they're really building up on him. I mean, I feel like they do every year. And I feel like we saw small flashes of it last year, but I mean, you still have to the proof is in the tape. We need to see it before I can start really buying into Levi.
Yeah. And to that, thinking about Decker and some injury guys in the past, he was also talking today about James Houston. He goes, because they asked him about him, and Decker was kind of like, well, I remember when I had to go up against him a lot his rookie year when he was on the practice squad. And I was telling the coaches, like, this guy's got some stuff. Like, he's got legit moves, and he's starting to see that again. And he thinks that maybe that injury just kind of held a lot of things back. But he's going to say good things about his teammate, but he didn't have to either, and saying he's definitely, he's got those moves. So, I mean, you bring in Davenport, which I thought Decker was kind of not evasive, but trying to be complimentary to Davenport. He goes, "Oh, he's a big body man, He really sets an edge." Is the key words he was saying. I'm like, all right, so he's not getting to the quarterback.
He's like,
is what you're saying, but he's like Decker's like, he's as big as me when he walks out. He's like, he's a big, he's an athletic freak they all are, right? But he's like, he's like, Davenport's as big as I am. And he goes, he sets an edge, and he's super athletic and all that stuff. So I'm like, okay, so he's not getting past you, is what it sounds like, which I like to hear from Decker. If Davenport's beating you on the reg, we shouldn't have signed the extension.
The extension is a no-go.
But, so that's one of those things. It's like, that's why when you bring up Judon also in conjunction with all that, bringing that all together, it's like, if you could bring in a piece like that, you think, as long as everybody believes it fits. From our point of view, we're like, oh yeah, he's an edge rusher, he gets sacks. But if he doesn't work in whatever they're considering, then I guess it doesn't make sense either. But that would be sweet to see that happened. I mean, we were Chase Young away last year from potentially going to the Super Bowl.
6'6", 265.
Brad. Danielle Hunter from the Super Bowl, maybe. Brad. You Brad bots out there, just lap it up. Whatever he feeds you. Guess what? He makes mistakes, guys.
Oh,
he's not safe from persecution.
Jeez, please. Okay, well, let's get away from that before he. Oh, one quick thing. Derek Barnes. He said he was calling this season personal. He's been getting chippy out there. Breakout year coming for him. I think could be you. He's gonna have to.
As long as he's improving in pass coverage, that was really his big thing. It's not that he's a bad middle linebacker. He's a good run stopping linebacker, but pass coverage is an issue. He's got to be able to cover running backs and quick tight ends and. If he's improved there, then I hope, I want him to take it personal. If he plays better when he's pissed off, I can do it.
We'll see. We've definitely talked about it during the season. Definitely brought it up before. It's like you're never really sure what Barnes you're going to get on a week-to-week basis. And from all the reports the ones I've looked into, all reports, but the ones I've looked at. They've been playing him mainly just Sam linebacker first team, and he's really been thriving. That was his position in college, and that's kind of where he was as a rookie with the Lions too. But there's a big learning curve when he first got here. So I guess we'll see, and it makes me wonder what they're thinking with Campbell. I know. Rodrigo also, according to the same things I'm reading, Rodrigo's having a great, training camp also. But I'm curious to see how that unfolds. But yeah, the pass coverage in general needed a big step up from linebacker to the secondary. So we'll see.
What do you think Dan Skipper said to Derek Barnes?
Skip.
Skip be fun?
Angry. Yeah, he's been in a couple.
Skip?
No.
Skip
or Derek Barnes.
I was like, dang. The one that was really brought out was him and Skipper.
I feel like Skip gets in one every training camp, to be honest with you. I think that's why he sticks around.
Wasn't there a thing a couple years ago about Skipper? I don't want to put bad names on old Dan Skipper, but
I think he tends to get a little excited.
He gets a little excited.
I mean, so I mean, he's what the de facto backup tight end.
Yeah, probably.
So all right. Well, let's stick to football here, and we're going to head to college, where fall training camps have begun, and that means we begin year 2 of our college football preview. Fellas, it's back.
Woo!
Can't believe it's back.
It's
crazy.
back.
Week 1 begins in East Lansing, Michigan, where new head coach Jonathan Smith and the Spartans look to prove the doubters wrong
The
and
most
get to a bowl
exciting man
game
in college football.
for the first time since 2021. MSU has, and I'll let you guys get into this. MSU has 10 returning starters, 4 on offense, 6 on defense. From last year's 4-8 squad. Fellas, how you feeling about the squad after camp has now started?
It's a 50-50 feeling. It's hard to know. It's hard to know what we're gonna get. You know what I mean? It, like you said, we have some guys returning, but the team was 4-8 last year.
Non-believer.
But we did get a bunch of transfers. The passing game should be much better this year. I do worry a little bit about defense. I mean, they weren't good last year, and if all 6 guys are returning and starting, I mean, I'm hoping for improvement, hoping for better scheme play. I mean, we'll just have to see what happens. Like I said, the offense should be better. Yeah, Nathan Carter, I keep saying Chili's, but Childs, and then the tight end, who a lot of people consider to be a top 10 tight end in college football. So, I mean, it's exciting just to know that we have some real weapons this year and a guy that can actually sling it. So we'll see what happens, man. It's hard to know, though. I'm 50-50 on how I feel about it, though, because we just don't know what the final product's going to be. So
what's the record prediction on this?
Are you on my record? I'm gonna right now. I think they improve, but not a ton. I don't think it's like a complete, like, full revamp 10-win type of season. I'm gonna play it safe. I'm gonna go 6-6.
6-6. What a noob. Because they're 12-0, baby.
I hope so.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. See what the future holds. Jonathan Smith's first season. It's so hard to predict. Like Dean said, it's hard to predict with them. I think that's why would you see most publications, prognosticators basically keep them towards the bottom of the Big Ten and a lower mid team overall, because it's easy to do that right now. Those guys aren't going to go out on a limb and say, hey, MSU is definitely better than Rutgers. When from a peripheral view, you assume MSU would win a game versus Rutgers, but Rutgers has been improving and MSU just had a 4-win season. So it's easy to just count them out because nobody's going to give you guff for that right now. And I think people would attack you for saying otherwise, so I get it. I get why they're being put there in a lot of things. I do think they're going to be better than 16th in the Big Ten. And I think they're going to go 7-5. I think they go 3-1 in the first 4 games. They end up losing to either Maryland or Boston College. Both games are on the road. Bound to drop one of them, and what seems like fairly comparable teams. I would lean more towards the loss being Maryland, but Boston College isn't terrible. Nationally, they're probably ranked higher than MSU, and they now have Bill O'Brien as their head coach. So they probably have got, by the time they see him in week 4, he'll have some stuff going. So I think they win 1, lose 1, likely lose the next 4 games after that. Ohio State, Oregon, Iowa, Michigan. With a slight chance of catching a W against Iowa at home. And then finishing strong, hopefully winning the last 4 against Indiana, Illinois, Purdue, and the aforementioned Rutgers. So for any of this to happen, I mean, Childs to Velling has to be on point. The offensive line has got to take a step up. The pass defense has got to at least be decent. They've been terrible. I mean, last year they ranked 96th in the country in explosive pass rate allowed. The defense, I think, is the key to the season. The offense, I think, has a decent floor with a high ceiling, but the D is a more very low floor to a potentially middling ceiling. So if the D takes a jump, like you said, 6 returning starters on defense from a terrible defense. So you're probably not going to be worse. You're at least going to be what you were. And you just hope you're taking another jump from there. The offense is only going to be better. It would be crazy for them not to be better this year.
Well,
it would. I mean, so many things would have to go wrong for them to be worse on offense this year. Like they could have the same personnel and Aiden Childs be the QB. They beat Iowa last year. On assumptions.
They beat Iowa this year.
They can.
I think they go 7-5 and drop 1 to like Illinois, Purdue, or Rutgers. Probably not Rutgers. Oh, I guess they'd be probably the one out of the 3, really.
Rutgers is probably the best team of those.
Right. Yeah. That's still 7-5 though, which I have them at. I don't see a reason why they can't. For all the points that you said, I mean, with Velling, possibly being one of the best tight ends in the country, Childs is definitely better than any of the 3 quarterbacks that were there last year. I mean, I assume by what you said about Carter that him. I mean, if you want to go by a big 3, those are your big 3, right? So, I say 7,
depending on how that goes.
I say 7-5. I think they lose to Ohio State, Oregon, either Boston College or Maryland, Michigan, and like I said, maybe Rutgers. So it could be 8-4. I mean, there's a chance.
It's not crazy. I mean, we have to see it, right? That's the whole thing. Right. And that's why I was saying that earlier. It's like the talent's there to see a 8-win season, but nobody's going to go out on a limb, like as far as nationally, Big Ten people, whoever, to say, okay, Michigan State's going to be better than Illinois. They won't even definitively say they'll be better than Illinois, which I think a lot of us feel like they probably will, but we have to see it.
Right.
So, if they go out and lay an egg on FAU, then everybody's be like, okay, yeah, they are 16th to 18th in the Big Ten.
Or barely.
That would really suck.
I don't know.
Barely beat them. That would.
I don't know. I just feel like for obvious reasons, there's just a different attitude, different, a sense of optimism, I guess is the best way to describe it, I guess. And there's good reason for it. I mean, I don't see why they're definitely better. I feel like they're definitely better than 4-8 without playing it down.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see, but
it does feel that way.
I mean, even honestly, even if they went 6-6, depending on how the defense is, you know what I mean? If they can get away with 6-6, be bowl eligible, get to a bowl, that's a good first year.
Honestly,
everything that's been going on.
That's a
without
W. Without
6 wins, I feel like it's a failure of a season.
That's fair.
That's fair.
Because I think moving forward, it hurts you more. I think you'd have to look really good in those 5 wins, and those 7 losses have to somewhat be manageable to sell that to kids, essentially. But if they're like, okay, they went 7-5, they're 8-4, they clearly look like a team on the rise. That's only going to help you moving forward. and it builds confidence with the guys that he's recruiting. That he's recruiting to hopefully stay is basically the gist I've gotten from what I've heard from Jonathan Smith. He's recruiting guys that he hopes are keepers. They're not trying to roll out,
Right.
But what are you gonna do?
I mean, just looking at the schedule, I mean, 6-6 is like the floor.
We'll have to see what it looks like.
I know, but I mean, just looking on paper or on my phone, I mean, 6-6 is.
The thing is how do you handle that that potentially 4-game losing streak?
Right.
How do you handle that? I mean, you're at OSU, you're at Oregon, you're home at Iowa, but then you go back to U of M. So I guess that's why I thought, well, maybe if you play competitive against OSU and Oregon, you might feel confident enough to get that home win against Iowa, and then go from there. Which if they get that home win against Iowa, if they've played decent against OSU and Oregon, then Michigan should probably be like, okay, these guys are going to be fired up for this one, right? Then that'll make an exciting game that I don't assume Michigan State would win even at that point. But
I mean, it's not definitely not going to be 49-0. I think it's going to be a lot closer, and
we don't know, man.
It's like 49-14 at least.
We're one injury away from looking as bad. Like if Childs goes down, I'm going to be 100%. Like, okay, that's probably it.
Yeah.
Well, they have. I read they brought in a transfer from. I can't remember. You'd have to let me know.
Yeah, but, North Dakota maybe.
Something like that.
His dream was to play at State. He went out there. He's from Michigan. Transferred back, and I mean that'd be cool. Is it Shorefar or is he a freshman? I think he's a freshman. Anyway,
I'll look it up here, but so yeah, I mean I get it. I mean, yeah, that's what a nightmare scenario that if that were to happen.
He goes down. I mean, even Velling,
right.
I think that's a key piece, especially with Malik Carr having transferred to Houston. I mean, it's not like he made a giant upgrade. I'm like, okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess you're chasing money,
That's true, yeah. Probably
whatever.
Got paid.
I would imagine. I mean, what'd they say? AJ Hogard. Did you hear about this? He got $800,000 to go to Vanderbilt.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Good for
you.
You
know what I'm saying? Like, ain't nobody at MSU paying that kid $800,000 to stay. That when Jeremy
Pierce to get out of here,
sitting on our bench. Yeah. I mean,
get out of here.
The money out there is crazy, but that's what I heard from a guy who talks. He said, I believe his family was close to MSU people. He says he was talking to Izzo at a thing. I'm not going to say Izzo said that because I don't know, but that's basically what was relayed.
He's like a guy I know. Him and her.
That's an easy edit.
That's an easy edit.
That's an easy edit.
Izzo said that.
A guy talked to Izzo. He said it.
Izzo said.
Just piece it together. It's not even the same video from today.
It's from different videos.
That's funny. All right. Well, good luck to the guys in East Lansing.
Do you mean that?
We're not. I mean, no, not really.
Fair enough.
I mean, we've got our own. Michigan's got its own problems that we might have to talk about next week. So, let's get into the weekly Tigers update. The weekly Tigers update brought to you by Adobo Boy, the official sponsor of the BD Sports Talk podcast. As you know, Dean Eddy and myself are proud Filipino Americans. That's right there. Eddie's got the shirt. who love a good Filipino meal. And Adobo Boy delivers just that with their amazing food and vibes that are unmatched in the food industry. Not only do they have delicious food, they also go against the grain of a traditional restaurant and tinker with their menu to bring you an amazing variety of Filipino cuisine. Their menu rotates weekly, so there's always a reason to come back to try more authentic Filipino food. But one dish you can always count on is that iconic Filipino dish, that iconic Adobo Boy dish, Red's Pork Adobo Bowl. Dean, give it to us.
It's tender pork, braised in soy sauce and vinegar on a bed of rice with cucumber, Jackie's achara or papaya salad, or a fried egg, and a fried egg on top. It's fantastic. I recommend buying two and just mixing one up and or not. Do whatever you want. It's fantastic.
Buy the script, Dean. Thank you. So if you're into trying new and different food, or would just like some amazing adobo and vibes, stop into Adobo Boy, where owners Ace, Jackie, and Red are amazing people who genuinely care about your experience there. Eddie, tell the people what they get if they say a certain word.
A certain word. I mean, there's so many things you could get with certain words. I'll tell you that right now. But if you're at Adobo Boy and you walk in and you experience all the things around you, the excellent ambiance, the smells, the food, you get up to the register and you say BDE Sports Talk Podcast after you give your food order, they're going to give you 5% off of your total bill. And you really can't beat that deal, man. On an amazing meal, at an amazing place, you're going to get that food and you're going to be like, dang, I got 5% off of this just by saying BD Sports Talk Podcast at the register. You guys think I'm messing around, but I'm serious. You're going to really enjoy it. You're going to really enjoy it. And you're going to be like, dang. And I also got a discount on this just by saying BD Sports Talk Podcast. It's 5% off when you order at the register.
That's right, Ed. And if you want that amazing adobo that Dean described to us, you want those amazing vibes and smells that Eddie gave us, Adobo Boy is open Tuesday to Friday, 11:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. for lunch and 5 to 7:30 for dinner. And on Saturday, same schedule except open for dinner until 8:30 p.m. Adobo Boy is located at 3740 28th Street, Southeast Kentwood, Michigan, and is inside the amazing Myanmar restaurant. Amazing Myanmar, brunch and rice, Adobo Boy in the middle. So get there, get fed, get happy. It's always better at Adobo Boy. Well, fellas, the season is over as we know it. The team is now 52 and 57, 3-7 in their last 10, 14 back in the Central, and the team was sellers at the deadline. Traded Carson Kelly to Texas for catcher. I'll just go through it real quick here. Catcher Liam Hicks and pitcher Tyler Owens, and called up Dylan Dingler. In another trade with Texas, they shipped out Andrew Chafin for pitchers Joseph Montalvo and Chase Lee. And a very divisive move between fans, the Tigers traded Jack Flaherty to LA for, I believe, I'm sorry if I mispronounce this, Tehran Lorenzo and shortstop Trey Sweeney. Lorenzo, is that Lorenzo? Lorenzo, top 10 prospect in LA. Sweeney was in the top 30. Before we go on to Mark Canna, good deal for the Tigers, considering he would have left for nothing, or were you expecting a little more?
I mean, he may not have left for nothing. Or, I mean, he may not have left. He might have stuck around. But I'd seen a couple of different things on that catcher. I know you said he was the number 8 prospect, but I'd heard on I don't know if it's like Baseball America or something like that he was actually their number 3 prospect in their organization. Which, if that's real, I mean that's a much more valuable piece in my mind, especially if if we don't keep Rogers around or whatever. It's nice to have a young catcher in the wings. I know I believe Trey Sweeney's 24 years old. Is that correct?
Something like that.
24. Yeah.
Something like that. You know, I mean, Flaherty's a sub 3 ERA pitcher that can legitimately help a team right now, and I don't think they got screwed in any sense of the way, because they're pretty much trading just for a rental on Jack Flaherty. But I thought they could have gotten something else. I don't know any of the background on these guys. I know that the catcher is supposed to be pretty good. He was a first round pick at one point. So, I mean, you never know. I mean, these guys develop. Hopefully, I know he wasn't hitting like great average wise. Yeah, he wasn't hitting great average wise in high A baseball. But I think the season before he was hitting like a two. I don't know if this was Sweeney or him, but one of them was hitting like 254 with like 13 home runs. And I think that's the short side. I think that's Sweeney. 13 home runs and like 62 RBIs. So, I mean, if that's the type of production he can evolve into the majors and, you know, kind of find a way to get Javi out the door, you know, but we'll see. I mean, only time will tell when you're trading for prospects. So, you know, we'll just have to wait and see. They're projected to be decent players, but you never know.
Yeah, in general, I mean, the Chafin Canna trades were whatever. I think it's about what you'd expect to get for Chafin or Canna, which isn't that much. I mean, Montalvo is a high A ball guy. He's pitching pretty well. Chase Lee played some AAA, was hurt this year, but pitched 398 in AAA a year ago. So it's kind of whatever. I mean, the pitcher we got for Canna is a AA guy, that Silva, but he's got like a 4.5 ERA in the minors. So could be bad, could be good, could be bad. I think that was the bare minimum. Was dealing Canna and Flaherty. The Flaherty trade was certainly more substantial because obviously Flaherty was going to a place where he'd be the second or third starter in a rotation. Lorenzo, the catcher, probably the one to be more excited about, as you guys are talking about. He's already ranked as our fifth best prospect in the Tigers organization. I mean, he still won't see the big club for a few years, but that's expected, especially with Dangler now getting some reps. But Sweeney, he's put as like our 24th best prospect, but could come up and play shortstop if needed. He's had a little experience up there. I could go on about how I really feel about all the other stuff, but I mean, as far as the trades go, for what we got, whatever. I mean, there's more to that.
It's not exciting, you know.
There's just more to it. I didn't know if you wanted me to finish my thoughts on that. I just
no, you're fine.
I mean, I don't know if I hate it. I definitely don't love it. Because it all seemed it seemed all very last minute. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm glad something got done. I am. But lots of reports out there about Harris's asking price for Flaherty was way too high, which is fine in general because you want to ask high and meet in the middle, right? But they're saying his asking price was too high, like a couple hours before the trade deadline. And I heard Brian Cashman also on the radio, New York Yankees. He was trying to make a deal for Flaherty. He goes, we just couldn't match up, which means they just didn't have what Harris was asking for. And it makes me question Harris because he almost did what he did last year and looked stupid. And it makes me wonder if these were players we were wanting or targeting or players that we just ended up being able to get. So, again, I'm glad something happened. It just seems like something is off with how he's going about it. I want this to work out. I obviously want them to do well. It's just from last season's trade deadline to this offseason to this deadline, I start to hesitate, but we'll see. I'll say this. Nobody is saying the Dodgers got hosed on this deal. In fact, it's exactly nearly the opposite of that. You look on ESPN, when they claim the big winners of the deadline, they claim the Dodgers is one of the big winners of the deadline, and the Tigers are listed down in the other losers section. Although they do qualify by saying not big losers. And they quote in there, I felt the collective return the Tigers got for Chafin/Kelly and even Flaherty was a little light. And that's kind of how I felt about it too. So take that for what it's worth. Lorenzo's the best guy we got in this deal. And he's a 220 hitting catcher. He is our 5th best prospect. I don't hate that they got him.
I heard he has a cannon behind the plate.
And he's a switch
It sounds
hitter,
dangerous.
And he's a switch hitter.
He brings a live cannon to the plate every time. I think that's a prospect you do get in that deal. But I think by the time it was time to pull the trigger, Harris knew he had to just pull the trigger, because if you didn't trade Flaherty, you'd look stupid again. And so like, okay, well, now who knows what the Yankees offered?
Right.
We have no idea. We know what we ended up getting from the Dodgers. I mean, now it was one thing with Skubal, right? I mean, you ask for the sky and see if somebody brings you a star, right? I don't know. But with Flaherty, it's like you ask for a star and maybe they bring some sky. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like it's got to work in some way, and it just he played his hand a little too heavy, from what it sounds like, and it just didn't work out. And he had to sell it as if some kind of magical deadline. Time will tell. It's easy to dog it now because it just doesn't look great.
I
hope he's smart.
The Athletic actually named them one of the winners of the trade deadline.
Really?
Mainly because they kept Skubal. Which and Lorenzo, obviously. But I mean, I don't hate the fact that they got something. I know it's not a lot, but they got something for Canna, which that's a surprising.
That was bare minimum. You get anything for Canna. It didn't matter what they got for Canna.
Right.
It was really what they got for Flaherty.
Right. But I'm saying, as far as that goes, the fact that I didn't think they even trade him, to be completely honest with you.
Dude, I could be a GM for the Tigers and I could trade Canna at the deadline. All right. I'm telling you right now. I could trade Canna at the deadline and it wouldn't matter. Nobody's going to be like, oh, you got what for Canna? They're like, oh, okay.
Right.
Like, yeah, dude, you're the GM of a professional baseball team. You're supposed to be some kind of genius, dude. You better move Canna at the deadline with the situation we're in. Like, I'm no freaking genius like Scott Harris, but come on, dude. You can move him. I'm telling you. Well, you know what? Any of us would have done it.
The Giants were just like, you want him?
Yeah. No, it didn't matter. It didn't matter.
The worst player
in prospect. Yeah. Who was it? Was it Silva? That's who we got, right? Yeah. Who's got 4.5 was me being nice. He's had over a 5 in single or double A. He's got time to improve. I'm just saying, nobody's like, oh my gosh, what do we got to do to get Silva from the Giants? He also have Canna.
He also has a cannon behind the plate, is what I hear. So
I'm sure he does.
Two live cannons.
2 live cannons, yeah. To hopefully knock a batter out before he has to pitch a ball.
So
look, he doesn't deserve that. He doesn't deserve that. He's probably a great guy. He's still coming up. It just nobody should celebrate Chafin Canna getting moved when those are clearly things that should happen.
Yeah, I'm in the wait and see camp as well. You guys have said it a couple times that this team would have to play a lot better baseball to even sniff the playoffs. So getting anything for Carson Kelly was a win. I felt like. Plus, you get, Eddie, you brought this up multiple times of not gatekeeping young players, and getting Dingler. Dingler up there is probably the first step in it. Hopefully. So in that sense, it's a plus, but it kind of sucks that it's over. The season's over, right? So I guess you start looking. Hopefully, they start bringing younger guys up, like Eddie, you said. And now you watch the Tigers to see who develops and who's, who we got, what we got going on. So
I mean, if you're gonna commit to it. Bring those guys up. Bring. We need to see Jace Young up here before the end of the season. Let him play first. Who else do we have to play first? Cannon's gone. Torque. Scott Harris did say yesterday, we still count on Torque being our first baseman of the future, and maybe it doesn't feel like it, right? You never know,
right?
But it's just one of those things, man. It's like, yeah, okay, you said it. I was glad to see Dingler up. If you're doing the moves you're doing, I'm glad to see that Dingler's up. I want to see Jace Young up, and let's just see what else got. Jackson Jobe. Let's see what Jackson Jobe's got. He's been pitching well. So let's just Howie Lee. I want to see him come up too. He's been slashing. Let's see these guys, man. You're telling us we're not blocking people.
So, all right. So tomorrow, which would be Thursday, they have a 4-game set against the Royals and then the Mariners there in Seattle. So time to watch development, fellas. Get the young kids up there now. Just call them all up.
I'll call up a couple.
Let's see if they make a run.
Kids that are slashing in AA or triple, I mean, bring them up. Bring one or two up. Yeah, just see.
Right.
Why not? Tell them that. Be like, hey, look, we're just going to give you a couple games here, see how you do. We're probably going to send you back down. But just want you get a couple hits, see what it's like. So they're not wrecking their confidence, but being like, hey, you're in the bigs now, welcome to the bigs, kid. And then a week later you send them back down and then they're devastated. Well, you know what I'm saying?
We're going to send you to Grand Rapids. It's close. But Toledo's right there.
Wait, who was there? Who was that? Somebody who just went to the Whitecaps. Was it
Javi?
No, it was Clark. Max Clark.
Max Clark.
Yeah. You guys should go check that out.
I know.
If he's there, go check out a Whitecaps game, dude. I might want to come see that.
Party deck.
Dude, that'd be sweet.
They made a lot of.
We have to check to see if he's there. I can't remember.
Should just go anyway.
Yeah.
So, all right, fellas. Thank you, everyone, for watching this week's episode. And if you liked what you watched or heard, be sure to like this video. Hit us up with a comment. Also, check out last week's episode that's below me and next to Eddie. And hit the logo next to Eddie to subscribe. It's below Dean. There you go. Good job. It would be me.
They're never there when I point.
Just hold them up.
Oh, jeez.
Well, there you go. Do the whole thing. There you go. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the notification bell so you know when we come out with the next new episode. And if you're listening, subscribe to the channel. So thank you so much for Dean and Eddie. This is Bill saying, everyone have a great week and see you next time on the BDE Sports Talk Podcast.
Sports Talk.